Hello guys, what's good? Welcome back to my channel. I'm joined with my mom today.
Hello.
It's been a while since we've done like a sit down video.
I know.
It's been ages.
Feels like it's been since lockdown.
Yeah, probably that's when we were in our sit down video prime. So I just thought today we could come and give you an update on our second investment property. Not really an update, more just like talking about how it's been, because it has been 1 year of the old office now. Yay. So yeah, I just thought we could come and share with you guys like a little update on like how things have been. And yeah, I mean, you know, nothing like chaotic or crazy has happened. So if you're expecting some tea, like nothing's happened that's like dramatic or anything.
They're gonna switch off now.
Bye then, because I don't want you type of people here. Bye. Okay, so should we just get into it?
Yeah. And it has pretty much been about 1 year, hasn't it, since people moved in?
Yeah.
Probably a little bit longer, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the tenants first. So I feel like each property we have has like kind of like a different vibe. And so like our first property, they're a bit more like, they're kind of like doctors, they're a bit more family-ish, would you say?
Yeah.
Whereas the old office is very like, they're just there to work, they're young professionals. It's ended up being like an all-female house. They're just like young professionals, mainly in like the STEM profession. And I feel like they really treat the old office as a place to just come, sleep, and then go to work the next day. Like they're not very, and obviously we haven't made them like this, but they're not very like, oh, we'll all cook a meal for each other, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of that, but it's more, it's kind of, it's business. Like
Yeah.
It's more that kind of house. So it's not unfriendly, but it's not as friendly, you know, best buddies kind of thing
Yeah.
as the other ones.
Like some of our other houses, like they've gotten really pally and like they cook with each other and they go on nights out with each other, whereas
Yeah.
the old office isn't really like that. I mean, obviously they all get on, but you know, it's not like kumbaya, do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the type of like tenants that we have in the old office, but I mean, they're all good tenants.
Yeah, they are. And then in terms of tenant turnover, because I know some people ask about things like this in terms of, you know, with the HMO, there's this, I guess, thing about, you know, having high tenant turnover. And yeah, while you don't expect them to stay as long as like a single let, you know, because it's not a family, our tenant turnover hasn't been too bad. And even at the old office, we've only had, we had a locum doctor in right at the start, so you don't expect them to stay. But we've had one tenant that I think left after about 9 months, I want to say. And then we've had a couple of tenants that are on like industrial placements from uni, so that obviously their tenancy is only for a year and then they're moving on. But we've had a couple of tenants extending beyond the year, and so at the moment I think our average length there is kind of just under a year. But yeah, generally we don't have people leaving, which is great.
Yeah.
We did have somebody that left during the pandemic as well, because they were working in retail. But yeah, it's not been bad actually, and we didn't have like loads of people leave during the pandemic or anything really.
No.
Apart from one. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. But yeah, like I feel like a lot of our viewings go really well, and like we fill rooms really quickly if they're ever empty, and we're starting to actually build up a bit of a waiting list now for our rooms. Like, you know, like if we have doctors and things like that, then they'll go and like tell their new friends like, hey, like I live here, I really like it here. So like just like a good word of mouth, good quality property, good fantastic landlords, you know, all of these things means that people want to live with us, and they're actually waiting to try and live with us. Like, what the hell?
Literally waiting, which is really nice, because we kind of set that as a bit of a business goal, didn't we? That we wanted to kind of run this with a waiting list, and it literally is like that. And we've got tenants that have got, you know, friends that are waiting until a room becomes available. Even literally just this weekend, we've got a placement student moving out, and And people were literally asking, when that room had gone, people were literally asking, could they put a deposit down on the next room that becomes available? And I'm like, I don't know when it's going to become available because nobody's due to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a really good rep, you know. And somebody today literally from London called and sort of said, I really want to get a room in that house because I've had a look in the area and they're clearly the best rooms in the area. And that was really lovely to hear. That was nice. And the other thing as well is when we do the viewing, especially with the rooms with the brick slips in, which if you've watched the old office renovation, you'll have seen the brick slips. Literally when people walk into those rooms, they're like, wow, it's such a lovely kind of a warm sort of really homely feel, even though it's really stylish. But yeah, it's just amazing. The interiors are amazing, you know, thanks to Leah and my sister as well, who've done an amazing job.
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah,
defo. Yeah, so you know, I feel like just do everything as good as you can, be better than everybody else in the area,
and be original as well.
Oh, speaking of original, I feel like I said about this in one vlog one time, but can you imagine, guys, that we had someone have the audacity to take our photos and advertise them on Spare Room as if that was their own property? The actual audacity. So if you're ever thinking of doing something like that, please never do it. It's dumb and it's really embarrassing.
Yeah, we literally spotted it. We called Spare Room, and within about an hour, it was taken down. But I was shocked. I was scrolling through, just saw this picture of our property against obviously a description that wasn't ours, and I was in shock. Yeah, and what they've basically done is they've taken like a handful of our properties, mixed in one or two of their like, you know, crusty own ones, and just don't do it, man. Be original.
Yeah, honestly, it's like it's just stupid because when that person turns up, what are they gonna see? Because I know they ain't going to see our brick slips on the wall. Do
you know what we have done though? What we do in terms of Spare Room now is we have one property, which is our first one, which is the 2 to 5 bed, so the old publishers. And when we have rooms coming up now, sometimes, I mean, often we don't actually even need to put the room on Spare Room because we've got a bit of a list. But sometimes we literally just put that particular one up, because we know that picture, for some reason, it just kind of has a good click-through rate.
Yeah.
And then when they get in touch, we'll say, we haven't got that one available, but we've got one that's literally like a stone's throw that's similar sort of quality. And that's how we do it. So our last property, for example, the old cafe, that's never, ever been on Spare Room. And it's full. It's full and there's a waiting list. So there's definitely ways to be creative and do it.
Yeah. Therefore...
Yeah.
So one thing that we've had to introduce recently as well with the tenants, even though, you know, we love our tenants and our tenants are good people, good vibes, we've never had, you know, major dramas with our tenants, we have had to introduce some, like, I'm going to say etiquette rules, like, sorry, the dog is like actually jumping on mum right now. Yeah, we've had to introduce some like etiquette rules just to make sure that people are being like mindful of other people. So it's things like bringing guests over, which is fine, you know, bring people over, but
within reason.
Yeah, within reason. But you know, if that guest is being loud, or if they're parking in other people's parking spaces, or if they're turning up at like 12 at night ringing the doorbell when you've got 8 other tenants, we can't really be having that. So we've just had to, you know, remind them of these like little etiquette things. And also one thing as well that like we're trying to remind them to be mindful of is like mess in the kitchen. And like some of them might think like, oh, let me just leave like my one loaf of bread on the side or something, like the house just looks like lived in kind of thing. But you kind of have to remind them that if everybody in the house left one item on the kitchen counters and there's 8 things on the kitchen counter that could have just been put away kind of thing. So, you know, just got to remind them of these like little rules kind of thing. I don't want to say rules, because obviously they are grown adults.
They're etiquette guidelines. Etiquette guidelines.
Yeah, it's just making... it's just making sure that they're like... Just remembering that like they're in a house share and like they have to think of other people as much as we want them to feel like it's their place, but... Yeah, they just have to be mindful.
Yeah. I feel that, yeah, and the reason that, and we've literally only done that in the last couple of weeks.
Days.
Days. Literally. And yeah, and so obviously we've been running, you know, most of the properties for a couple of years now without having done it. This is the first time we've done it. But I think what it will help to do though, is just help set those expectations. So even, you know, before people move in, we're going to share those to kind of make sure that people know what to expect and know how the house is run.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be useful. And the feedback that we've had, so what we've actually done, we've drafted these guidelines and we've actually sent it out to some of our housemates to get their feedback before we actually, you know, confirm it, get it set in stone and send it out. So we're doing it in quite a sort of, you know, collaborative way, because we don't want it to feel like something that's just been imposed on everyone.
Yeah, and you called all of them before, didn't you, to be like, hey, like, what's going on? What are you happy with, kind of thing. So it's not like we've just been like, right, guys, don't ever bring anybody here, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? We actually spoke to them and said, like, what would be useful, kind of thing. So
yeah, and I think I would say guess is the biggie. The thing I think that you have to manage probably the most is guests. And the reason that this has come up in particularly say in the old office compared to our first one. So in our first property, which was all female from day one, because the first tenant that moved in the first all female property, it's very strictly no male guests, and that some of that is because we have women who, for, you know, religious beliefs, you know, we can't have men in the house unless, you know, they're helping somebody move in. But in the other properties, you know, there are occasional guests, whether that be in the day and then occasionally at night. And so it was necessary to kind of put some boundaries and just a little bit of structure around it. So I think that's why it's become more challenging.
Yeah, that's the word, boundaries.
Yeah,
boundaries.
Set those boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I don't know if I've mentioned this before in our vlogs, but we're actually moving on to using like a management software. It's called Coho, and basically any like maintenance issues that the tenants might have, they can like report it in Coho. At the minute, they're just like, we're just in WhatsApp groups and our VA like picks it up and then we'll feed it back. But obviously they chat in the like WhatsApp group as well, so it's kind of like you don't want things to get lost. So we're just trying to have like an actual formal system of where they can log reports. But yeah, Coho is really good because it can also send you like reminders out about like your gas safety certificate and things like that, like for when you need to renew it and things like that. So yeah, we're hoping that Coho, you know, works well for us. And yeah, I think the WhatsApp groups were good at the start, but it's getting to the point where we're going to have a lot of tenants soon. Like by the time we finish the 5th property that we're doing at the minute, we'll be on 30 tenants. So, you know, we can't just have WhatsApp groups of 30 people. Like, it's just actually silly.
It's a lot. Yeah, that's the thing, it is a lot. And Coho as well. So in terms of, because I think we're going to go on to property management next, but what we basically started doing as well, we've now got, which I'm sure a lot of property developers or investors have been through this, we've now got a property management spreadsheet that's got like all of the rooms and things like, you know, rooms, rates, tenancy end dates, things like that. But yeah, we use Coho for things like reminders of things like, you know, fire alarms and things like that. But then we're sort of managing the properties and things like rates and KPIs, that's the word, KPIs and stuff like that in this spreadsheet. So I'm really looking forward to Coho kind of picking up some of the slack for that and just making it a bit more organised, and sending us reports and things like that, you know, as it develops. So yeah, big up to Coho. I'm expecting big things of it.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah, thank you, Van. I hope you're listening. We're expecting big things of Coho.
Cool. Do you want to talk about the maintenance then?
Yeah, so obviously we do manage all of our properties ourselves. We don't use letting agents at all, not for finding or anything like that. So some of the challenges that we have in terms of maintenance, and actually this links a little bit to tenant rules, but top of the list has got to be bins. Bins are like the bane of my life. Bins, bin rotors, all of that stuff. And we've kind of flipped and flopped, and even in this house in particular, we started out with a bin rotor. We always start with a bin rotor. And then now the tenants have sort of said actually they don't want a bin rotor. They're just gonna you know, if it looks like it needs taking out, I'm going to take it out. I mean, each tenant has all of the recycling bins in their rooms anyway, so they can kind of put them straight out. But yeah, figuring out how tenants want to manage things like kitchen bins is really important. And also just, you know, when you're developing and doing the renovation, is like, where are things like bins going to go? So bin rotors have been something, but yeah, letting the tenants decide whether they want a rotor or not, I feel is really important.
Yeah, but then they get like, I was actually about to name the tenant then, but one was saying about how they say they don't want a bin rotor, but then they complain that they're always taking out the bin.
Yeah.
But then when they have the rotor, it feels too like ruly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so you just have to find the balance, but just always offer that lifeline. And obviously, if you see things going awry, then you have to say, oh, you know, how's that non-bin rotor working out?
How's that working for you?
And then the other thing, so cleaning issues. So we're actually in the process of sort of changing cleaner. So which is it's always a little bit of a shame when you have to change things like that. But what we found actually, because in our properties, where we're quite lucky actually, is the tenants are quite clean, you know, like in the kitchen area, even if there's a little bit of clutter, they're actually quite clean. So when the cleaner comes, like once a fortnight or once a week, they're expecting a really high standard of clean. And so we just found that we had to kind of like bring somebody else in to help maintain the standard. So keeping on top of things like that is really important. And if tenants aren't happy, as one of our tenants said to us, you know, ultimately, even though we manage the cleaner, it's really them that are paying for it, you know, through their rent. So it's really important that it's a decent standard. So keeping on top of those standards is important.
Yeah, also one thing, someone asked the other day who cleans the bathrooms, but the tenants are just in charge of cleaning their own bathrooms because it's not a communal area. So all of our properties, they all have their own bathroom or ensuite, so they're just, you know, responsible for that the same way that they are for their bedrooms.
Yeah, so bathrooms aren't shared, so it makes it more straightforward.
If it was shared though, then they would clean that, but none of them are.
The other maintenance issue that we've had, which has been a recurring issue here and one of our other properties, is blocked drains. And the reason that the drains have been blocked is probably because we have all female houses. And I'm just going to leave that there.
Just going to leave it there.
So, and then it's how you deal with it. So you can either put something in your etiquette rules, or you can send a little note out, you know, about being sort of better for the planet and all of that sort of thing. So that was something we've had to deal with a couple of times. We're so lucky that like our, you know, builder / maintenance team are like the salt of the earth, because the pictures that I was sent the one day when the drains were blocked, it was not pretty. It was really not pretty at all. So props go to Tony and the team as always.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. I think that's it for maintenance.
Yeah. Oh, and the door slam. So the other bit of maintenance as well. We take a lot of suggestions from the tenants. So a lot of things that we kind of try to fix and put right is based on feedback. And door slamming, which I think is an issue actually in a lot of properties, is some feedback that we've had. So we've tried a couple of little devices. One is like a kind of cushion thing that you can kind of slip on the door handle, which is fine for the kitchen because obviously that door doesn't get locked. But for the room doors, we're trying another little mechanism that goes at the top of the door to kind of help just soften the noise and the banging of door slamming. So that's it in terms of maintenance.
Because they're heavy doors, aren't they?
Yeah, the heavy doors, and because of the fire door closer, the closers that we've had to have because of the fire standards in our area, and because it's a large property with the old office, it's a large property, it's 3 stories, there's a big fire panel and all of those things. So hydraulic closers, very, very noisy. Wow. So parking is always a bit of a challenge because obviously, you know, lots of councils and areas are trying to promote more sustainability. And as much as we provide sharing bikes, you know, which goes down really well actually, obviously some tenants need cars, you know, because of where they work or whatever. And we're quite fortunate at the old office in that we have some dedicated, like secure parking behind the building. And then also on the other side of the building, there are 1 or 2 sort of bays. There were 1 or 2 bays that are opposite the building. They're not dedicated to us, but they are generally empty. So we're quite fortunate. But there have been some conversations around, you know, who should get priority over the secured parking versus this, that and the other. So in our etiquette guidelines, we've gone with obviously you can make up whatever rules work for you, but we've gone with the rule of whoever's been in the house longest gets priority over the secure parking. You know, so whoever's been there the longest gets priority over the better parking. Apart from obviously if somebody had, you know, like a physical disability or an illness that meant that, you know, they're walking further or whatever, you know, you obviously use your common sense. But that's what we've gone with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I agree.
Yeah. Cool. So obviously this property, we finished the renovation after lockdown 1. Was it after?
Yeah, it was in between the 2 lockdowns.
Well, who knows at this point? Who even knows? So when was it that they all had to isolate? I can't
October.
remember. Yeah. So someone had COVID in the house and the whole house had to isolate. But they actually managed it really well. So we brought them like a load of takeaway, and then they would just like go to the kitchen like in slots and pick up their food and then take it and then just live off the leftovers. But I mean, obviously, I feel like with this property in particular, because they're all adults, they all work, they're grown, you know, they work 9 to 5s. It's not like we had to baby them and be like, you do this kind of thing. Like they just sorted it out between them, and apart from getting them takeaway, like we didn't really have to get involved.
Yeah, they managed it really well. And I feel it kind of almost like brought them close together, because even though they were only communicating through the WhatsApp group, you know, as in, is anybody down in the kitchen now, you know, and they all had their own, I had to go and get them all their own individual, like, you know, sanitizers and stuff like that for when they went down and stuff. But they handled it really well.
Yeah, defo. During the damn man of panic. Nah, they're cool, man. They're good vibes.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty grown up.
Okay, so one thing that someone asked was actually about the appliances that we brought from AO, and they were asking them if we got the appliances from AO on finance in our personal names and then invoiced the business, but we did not. We obviously are set up as a limited company, and then we have like, you know, a business bank account, so we just pay through there. Okay, so someone also asked how big is each bedroom. The smallest one is 11 square meters and the biggest one is 18 square meters, and the other ones are in between.
Yeah, and the 2 that are 11 square meters, which sounds quite small because obviously the minimum double size is 10. I think it's 10. But those 2 bedrooms have en suites, and so and they're 2 of the 4 en suites in the house. So the house has got 4 en suites, 4 off suites, right, in total. So those 2 11 square meter bedrooms are en suites, and they still, you know, the rent for those is still over £500 a month. So that's not too bad. Yeah, and they've got small double beds in. That always helps. So we're moving now to just, we always get small double beds now. That helps definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so someone also asked about what tenants are allowed to do in their bedrooms. Like, are they allowed to put pictures up? Are they allowed to paint walls? Are they allowed to change furniture? Obviously, if they want something like a shelf putting up, then like that's fine, and we can get someone in to do it. Painting walls and that, like, we just want it to be how we, you know, left it. So painting walls.
How they found it.
Yeah. How they found it. So yeah, it can't be like painting walls. Changing furniture, I mean, no.
We've had people move things around.
Yeah, move things around's fine, but not to swap out a whole bed.
No. We did have somebody that wanted their own mattress in there. I can't remember why. I can't remember if it was like an orthopedic or something. And then we just took the mattress out. Because, you know, I thought that was reasonable. But
that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Someone also asked where our kitchen countertops are from. Howdens. Our kitchens have all been from Howdens, apart from in our first property. And so we've only had 2 Howdens kitchens.
3, because the bungalow.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I forgot about the bungalow. Yeah, someone asked me about planning as well for the old office and if it was hard to get planning. I did a video talking about like how we purchased the old office, and I spoke about planning there, so check it out.
It wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. given that we're first timers,
yeah,
much doing our own planning, it really wasn't as hard as I think people would think.
Yeah.
Oh no, we didn't do the planning ourselves for the old office. We had a planning consultant.
Yeah, we had that rubbish consultant, but then that's when we started to get brave.
That's when we realised it wasn't hard.
Yeah, we got brave and we were like,
and then we did the next one ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're doing this new one ourselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Cool. All right then, guys. So that is the update on the old office, my favourite property.
Until we do the fifth one.
Until we do the fifth one. The fifth one is literally going to be iconic. Like, I'm claiming it now. It's going to be the best property we've ever done. Until we do the next one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for it. Like, I've started filming the renovation updates now. So yeah, I'm excited for that property to be done. And yeah. Cool. All right then, guys. So thank you so much for watching. As always, really appreciate it. Thanks for coming back on my channel.
You're welcome. It's good to be here.
It's been a while. So make sure you subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. Really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye. Bye.